There's some
Oh,
happy
we're
birds.
live now. Yeah, man, these birds are really. I gotta close this window. These birds are just screaming in my house. I'll be right back.
They're happy, happy birds.
There we go. Might as well get a little light in here too. Although that washes me out, so maybe that was a bad idea. Well then, I'll be right back again. Alright, cameras are weird. Oh, okay. Alrighty, I think we're good to go. Are you guys ready?
I am.
Let me move all my stuff here. Oh, I gotta retweet this link here. That guy, that guy, that guy. Boom. All right. Close that out. Close that out. Okay. You good, Meeson?
I'm ready.
Alrighty. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels. I'm your host, Boston. Going around the room, we have Musum.
Hello.
And we have Mina.
Hi, hi.
For any of you watching on video, Mina's camera's broken today. Technology hates podcasts, so sometimes things just don't work.
Yeah.
Who knows? Let's get right into it. Musum, what have you been playing?
Well, I played a bunch of stuff a little bit and one game a whole lot.
Okay.
I'll get the little bit of stuff out of the way. Played a tiny bit of Warframe. They had an event, I think. I don't remember what happened. It doesn't really matter.
It was very memorable.
like, I guess their last dev stream that I missed was kind of interesting, in that they announced that they were gonna, like, the working title, because their dog end game is called Kubros. Mm-hmm. And now they're going to release a cat version, so their in-house name, they're just calling it Cat Bro for the moment.
Yes. I mean, if there's one thing that can get me to play Warframe, it's cats.
Yeah. It's, I just hope they, man, I really want them to update it. So, like, I know they want you to feel like you have a pet, but the idea that you have to consistently buy a semi-expensive item from their market and give it to the animal a couple times a week is not, is really not, I think, customer friendly.
It's like a Tamagotchi at some level.
Possibly. Well, I never played Tamagotchi, but
Neopets, if you will.
Yeah, like, I know what they are, and they help you out in combat and stuff. But like, I just don't think they need to get rid of that charge.
Yeah, or at least make it kind of trivial.
Yeah, like they've tried to make it more trivial as time has gone on, but they haven't made it trivial enough for my tastes.
There's no space Costco you can go to.
Yeah, well, and the problem is like, I think it's mainly, like, it's not going to hurt me. Like, I have over 1 million credits in Warframe just because I've been playing for so long. And I think most of the people who played over like a year or two, like me, are going to be in the same boat, where it's just like, well, it's not too big a deal. I'll thaw one out and use it when I want to. But for new players, I think it's going to be a nightmare. You're going to have to find 75,000 credits, which is just like, that's like 3 or 4 hours of gameplay at the start when you have no idea what you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
But, 8 to 16 hours in, and it won't be a huge deal, but it'll, I don't know. Anyway, whatever. We'll talk about it later.
Game economies. It's not an easy thing.
Pretty much. Played a tiny bit of Pillars of Eternity. Pretty much since I beat Act 2. Like, that game's really good. I just know what it's going to take. Like, I know the time commitment and the mental fortitude I have to have in going into that game for Act 3, because it's gotten to the point where none of the decisions it's presenting you are good, and sometimes there's a third option, and it's hard to find the third option, and it's really written well, but I have to be ready to super involve myself in a game on the PC,
Yeah.
to get back into it. And I'm not I'm not there yet. I'm kind of on break.
In my ever-expanding adventures of me forgetting I kickstarted this game, I got an email the other day where, like, your order is shipped. And I was like, for what? Like, what did I buy? Again, like a dummy. And it's the boxed copy of Pillars of Eternity. I was like, oh, right, cool. So now I'm going to forget it, and it's going to show up, and I'm like, what did I get? Oh, boy.
You should play it. It's really good.
I should, like, I have no reason not to at this point, but I will probably forget.
Yeah. I played an itty bitty bit of Digital Devil Saga, which I don't even know why I'm mentioning because I literally played it for maybe an hour. But I don't know.
Which DDS is this one?
Digital Devil Saga. It is for the PS2.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay.
It's the weird one that you can beat in about 20 to 40 hours, depending on what you do in it, and you don't have demons in your party. Instead, your party is kind of the demons because they turn into demons.
I got it confused with the DS and the 3DS ones. The Overclocked is the
Devil
subtitle.
Survivor.
Devil Survivor. Yeah.
Yep.
So many devil games.
Well, and I will get to one of those in a minute.
Oh.
But, let me think. I beat Dragon Age Inquisition, which, yeah, Boston, you hit it right on the money. I had like an hour left of gameplay.
Yeah, we're gonna try and record a quick spoiler cast after this, just to talk about kind of the highlights of that game and kind of the ending. So we're not really gonna touch on it here because I don't think we could prevent ourselves from spoiling that game right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you like it sort of as a whole?
Yeah, as a whole, I like it. I've just decided about, like, okay, this ending didn't, like, it didn't offend me or anything or upset me or, you know, it wasn't bad. It was just, and I guess it was consequential to the world, but maybe it's just because I had taken 3 months off. It probably is because I took 3 months off. It felt really inconsequential, and I barely remember what happened, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I really love the game as a whole. I think, like, I was really tempted to start a new character and go down the other path, and especially the elf path. I get what you guys are talking about now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the other problem, is when I went through the ending, I'm like, who is that?
You're like, who's the what?
Oh no.
Dragon Age wiki. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I remember that now.
Right.
Don't do what I did. Just play through the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is not the last, but what I spent most of my time on this month was Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor 2 Record Breaker. I really hope
finally came out.
I hope they make another version of that for the new 3DS that has another word on that name, so it's an even longer title.
Record Breaker Overclocked.
Yeah. So if you guys remember, I played this and talked about this on PUP back when it came out for the DS.
Mm-hmm.
And this one didn't originally grab me. And this one I still don't quite like as much as the first one, because the first one has this constant tension going through where you don't know what's going to happen, and just trying to keep your party alive. And there was just this kind of constant challenge to it. And this one, that's not really present to me. Like, it's tension, and that it's kind of the world outside of Japan, or at least most of Japan has been, well, okay, you don't know what happens to it at the beginning of the game, but like, I don't know. It's kind of an apocalypse where you guys don't know what's happening, but there are no zombies. It's just more of a food battle, and
there's no timer above your head saying, "Hey, you only got one more day."
There is a timer. Maybe I should back up and go through some of the mechanics.
Okay.
Because this game is a bunch of different styles of games, into one. On one level, you have kind of the Persona-esque side, where all of the people you talk to, for the most part, have a link. I don't remember what they call them in games, so I'm just going to call them social links, where they can level up to 5. And as you level them up, they will give you extra combat abilities, and they will unlock being able to fuse certain demons. Handy stuff for the most part. One thing in particular, one reason you want to do that with all the characters you're going to use in battles, you unlock something called Skill Crack, which Let me actually get to some of the other stuff. I'll come back to that. The whatever you do in game takes up half an hour of time, and some in-game events are required for you to participate in. And this is kind of how you choose your path and what ending you'll get throughout the game.
That's similar to the first one.
Yeah, it's exactly like the first one in that structure. Well, I mean, mechanically, it's exactly like the first one. So if you played the first one, then you know exactly what to expect, except it is a different story.
Yeah.
And of course the gameplay is like a tactics grid, and then you fight your opponent, and then it goes into the you're viewing the enemies and you instruct your guys what to do.
Yeah.
And of course it is the demon fusion element. So skill crack, what it does, and it was in the first one too, but it allows you to say, okay, if this character kills this demon who has this skill, then I get this skill and can apply it to one of my human characters.
Oh, huh.
It's pretty handy. And what it does whenever you level up your social link in this game is it lets multiple characters skill crack. Let me think. I'm going to say this weird. So like if, so you have your main character and then you have Io. So let's say I tell Io to skill crack a flame spell.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have her social link leveled up, not only if she kills him will I get it, if my main character kills that enemy, he will also get it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
So you don't have to. It takes a little bit of that stress away, and I don't remember if they had that. I don't think they had that exchange in the first one.
They did not.
So, this one is also, in my opinion, a lot easier than the first one. I haven't actually found it challenging at all, but then again, I am also the type where I play one of these games. Ever since I beat Nocturne way back in the day, my first one, I learned that if you do 100% on your Demon Compendium, they give you like a huge discount on summoning from the Compendium.
Yeah.
And since that transfers on New Game Save Plus games on every Shin Megami Tensei game ever, it's a really handy thing to do. So that's usually one of my first goals. I don't always achieve it. I haven't beaten this game yet either. Story-wise, this game is... Man, it's somewhere between a typical Shin Megami Tensei story where the world's going away and you have to go beat up some god to remake the world and whatever
There we go.
with.
That old hat.
Yeah. And then, but it also mixed in Evangelion a bit with it, in that you basically have, they call them Serpentiones, I think, but they're angels. The angels are coming down, and your group is the group that has to go fight them.
They're drilling to the Nerve headquarters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Gotcha.
The head of Nerve is not in his 30s and, has his kid piloting her mom. But, I'm sorry, 20-year-old spoilers, my bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry, if nobody's seen Evangelion, we don't have to now.
Yeah, I don't... man... Like, the characters are good. This game's a little bit more pervy than the first one, which I guess depending on who you are, that may be appealing or not. But
we have more yoo-hoos.
Luckily they have no one. Like, the only incompetent character like you who...
Oh, that was the angle we were going for. Okay.
Nina was asking about something different.
I was talking about body proportion.
Oh, yeah, no.
She went with...
Yeah, it was a little interestingly drawn.
That's the entire cast. I'm sorry, Mina. That is the entire cast.
Okay.
Yeah.
The entire cast is... there's even a scene... minor spoiler. There is on day 2 or 3, they announced that they want all of the members of, I forgot the organization, JIPs, JPs, but they call them JIPs in game, to undergo a physical examination.
Oh boy.
And so when you have the option on your time clock, you have one option, which is physical exam, and the other is called the Garden of Eden.
Oh boy.
Oh,
And the Garden
we're
of
gonna have
Eden,
a hot springs.
I was just about to
yeah,
say, yeah.
that is the sneak in on the women folk and be a peeping tom.
Oh
And
boy.
they yeah. There's no actual nudity in the game, but like look up the character oh, ironic. Look up the character Minako.
Oh, great.
And you will see that her normal outfit probably has to involve glue. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, she's I don't know. Like the characters are for the most part pretty fun in the game. But, like I think a lot of them have personalities, and granted, they're all that kind of one note. The okay, this guy's like real tough and doesn't want help, but he's also a really good cook and was a chef previously, kind of thing.
This dude's totally the computer nerd. He's got a laptop on his wrist.
The computer nerd is actually this chick named I forgot her name. She's really entertaining because she's kind of a horrible person.
Go on.
Like
Oh,
like her response to every situation is almost always something like really mean.
Oh jeez.
And she doesn't really wind up siding with who I would have assumed she would have sided with. Well, so far. She could still change. I haven't beaten it yet. I don't know. But yeah, I'm probably 30, 35 hours in.
Oh, wow.
The story never gets like super strong because you're kind of just doing what the leader of Gyps says like most of the time. And you have some options to kind of deviate that path. And I guess one of the big things they do is, well, I guess the whole basis of the story is a website pops up and you join it and then it'll show you predictive death videos for your friends.
Oh jeez.
So kind of your goal in the game is those videos pop up and then you run to go save the person. But because the game is kind of on that timer where everything you do takes time, you can actually opt not to do anything about it.
Oh, interesting.
So that's I don't know. I saved everyone, better or worse. Hopefully, I will not pick the hardest ending the first time through like I did with the first game.
oh, geez.
Fingers crossed.
That was an outright nightmare. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty close to it, and I'm hoping it's like the first game too, where after I beat it, it will be relatively quick to replay through. I'm not to any of the new content yet. One thing they do nice in this game is you can skip directly to the new content if you've already played the original,
Yeah.
which also scares me about like what carries over from a main game to the new content. Because I don't want to struggle through starting at level 0 with no demon compendium again.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really enjoy the game. It's been a good waste of time. It's if you own a 3DS and like Shin Megami Tensei, I would recommend it. So,
Yeah.
let me see. And of course, I played some Destiny. Figured I would end with that one since several of those sessions were with Boston.
Yeah, we've been playing a bunch lately. I think since last episode, House of Wolves came out, right?
I believe, yeah,
Yeah,
it came
because it's only like 2-3 weeks old or something like that. So, yeah, House of Wolves has been really interesting. I feel like, oh, excuse me. I feel like Bungie spent put a lot more effort into the story side of it. I think they took a lot of feedback from The Dark Below, and the two protagonists that are sort of chattering in your ear the whole time are much more likable than Eris Morn ever really was. And I feel like they spent a lot more time with the voice acting, so it's a lot more interesting. But on the flip side, it's still, hey, you're gonna go to this place you were before, but now you're running through it backwards. Like, it's still entertaining, and the fights are interesting, and you go to the two areas, one on Venus and one on Earth, that you haven't been to before, and it's all really well made, but it's kind of, I think a lot of the story stuff, as much as I enjoy the lore and the story, it's really starting to show thin a little bit. And it makes me hope that, there's the rumor that this fall, the Taken King, the first real big expansion, will come out, and I hope it has more punch to it in the story area.
My biggest hope for this one, which was kind of an immediate, well, about a week beforehand, I got a clue that I was going to be disappointed. And I was really hoping for a brand new area to explore.
Yeah.
And they obviously, like, when they introduced the social hub, I thought, oh no, that's going to be the new area. And
Right.
and, you know, that was for the most part true. They might have had a new room or two in the levels we ran through, but I don't remember. But I don't think they can do another expansion for this without introducing straight up a new romp area.
Yeah, like a new planet, new, entirely new area. There's a multiplayer map in Europe now. It's that sort of stuff where it's like, okay, cool. If we could stop traipsing around old Russia, that would be really great because we've been there for a really long time.
That's I really do like the new multiplayer maps a lot. Like
I haven't played any of them yet.
I haven't played on them a metric ton. They're like basically I've had the exotic bounty for the invective for several months now.
Yeah.
And when the new expansion came out, I was like, I'm just going to get this over with. And one of the big changes they made to the multiplayer, which I'll be curious to hear where you sit on it in Boston, is making the green ammo scarce.
Yes. That was a big patch. Actually, both the special and the heavy ammo is pretty scarce in multiplayer, and the rules have changed quite a bit. It's made multiplayer a lot more interesting, I feel. And it's not just... There's still a lot of shotgun stuff, but it's a lot less than, hey, this guy has that one really good shotgun, and everybody is just getting killed by it the entire match. Yay!
See, I feel like the special weapons are very much... I mean, they've almost always led the pack in terms of body count,
Especially after shotguns got such a huge buff.
Mm. Well, and I haven't... Me playing multiplayer is kind of an off and on thing, because I like it, but I'm not a guy that gets into... I don't know. If the Iron Banner was a permanent thing that always existed in the game, like, I probably would play multiplayer more. I'd probably play that, because then I would eventually be getting something I want out of it, instead of just crossing my fingers for a random prize.
Right. Or grinding for that week.
Yeah. But I don't know. Man, that took a huge adjustment getting used to the green ammo recharging, because I am not good with my... Like, I went in with a legendary primary and an exotic secondary, and that was a mistake, because I am terrible with all of my legendary primaries. And I mean, I just had to switch over to a hand cannon, and then occasionally be able to use one of my legendary fusion rifles. But I mean, those are usually... I don't know. And then I guess it was also, I was working on an exotic bounty where, you have to get a certain kill death ratio to progress on that bounty and all. And that one was actually, I think, the easiest of the three I've done like that.
It sounds scary, because it sounds like you need to go 25-0, but you don't really need to. You just kind of need to do okay for a couple of matches.
Pretty much. It's because your assists evidently count, and it goes from match to match. So it, an hour or two and I was done. But like the new maps, I really liked. Like the European map in general, I loved. Like, because it has a certain... Like, almost all the walls in it are tall enough that you have to jump to be able to see over.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people were really into sniping on that level, but it was just like you could do pincer attacks everywhere.
That's actually the Trials of Osiris map this weekend, which is kind of exciting.
Oh, that's nice. I still have yet to try that. So
yeah, I haven't been able to get a group together yet to do it, because it's sort of funny that as soon as House of Wolves came out, kind of everybody, all of us that have been playing Destiny, are kind of all on these different schedules for the moment. So it's sort of let's do Prison of Elders, and it's like, no, there's like one of us on at a time.
Yeah. I still got to do that this week so I can get the whatever that piece is for my hunter. I really like that Prison of Elders consistently like they've I really love the way they've simplified. I guess they haven't simplified it, but they've made it easier to get to the top level than they have in past expansions.
Yeah, sort of for better or for worse, but I actually like Prison of Elders a lot, and I think for me that's something that Destiny really needed, which is this, especially on the level 28 one. It's this pretty randomized horde mode. So it's not the level 28 one is pretty easy, but it's always going to be different, and it's always going to be at least a little bit interesting if you enjoy Prison of Elders. And then the higher level ones, Musim and I, along with Knives 311 from the community, we did the level 32 one once, which was we were level 32, and I think maybe one of us was 33, maybe, and that was consistently pretty challenging. We made it through on our first try, but it was a very near thing at some points, which was kind of nice for once that I don't want to say we're the best Destiny players, but we have a lot of really great gear, and we're pretty well practiced with the game. So when we go and we do, nightfalls or we do weeklies, it's kind of easy. It's kind of straightforward, and it was nice to play Prison of Elders where it's a genuine challenge, and it's something that we didn't really beat our heads against it, but it wasn't going to be this thing where we're just walking in guns blazing. It's like, hey, look,
Yeah.
everything died. Crazy.
I mean, we had to use a strategy.
Yeah.
And I've done the Prison of Elder. I mean, I guess I've done it 3 times now at least.
Mm.
And I mean, all 3 times we had to think about what classes we were bringing in to a degree, and we had to think about, the first 2 or 3 rounds you can kind of go in and go willy nilly, but like the last 1 or 2, you always have to find a safe corner you can fortify and kind of work it from there,
Yeah.
But and I don't know, I like it, but man, that next expansion they bring out, because I mean our season pass is over now, so
Yep.
they literally have to sell us on whatever the thing they do next is.
Yeah, and thankfully for the Xbox 360 and Xbox One players, the exclusivity for a lot of the in-game stuff ends in the fall. So stuff like some ships, some maps, Hawkmoon, Fourth Horseman, like a lot of these really cool weapons, they'll be available on both platforms now. So for Xbox One or for Xbox players, there's kind of an exciting finish line here, but for a lot of the rest of us that I play Destiny usually every day, even if it's only for half an hour, just to hit up some bounties or whatever. They've introduced so many quality of life improvements in this last expansion that make playing the game, and they make leveling and progressing so much, not easier, but more streamlined, more obvious how you can kind of get from A to B. There won't be any Forever 29 problems. But when they're going to talk about the next expansion, which seems like it's going to be called The Taken King, which as a lore nerd makes me really, really excited, and I'm trying to tamp down my excitement. I feel like they really have to show something really, really groundbreaking for a lot of people, not to kind of just... I don't think a lot of people are just going to draw a line in the sand and say, like, well, I'm done with Destiny. But I think it's this sort of thing where it's like, well, maybe I won't play Destiny today. Maybe I'll play this other thing. And then eventually that Destiny just doesn't go back in your console. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I think, recently Bungie has admitted that local game studio, High Moon Studios, has been helping them with Destiny content. So it's going to be interesting now that they have even more sort of muscle behind that game, what they can create.
So, man, that brings me as much apprehension as excitement. Like, I like the Transformer games, High Moon did, but I'm saying that as a big Transformers fan. Like the reality of it is, I would not recommend those games to just anyone because they have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
The
It
multiplayer was surprisingly fun, but the vehicle modes were not. And I don't know. It makes me a little nervous.
well,
But
in the one job listing and what leaked out, it seemed like I think it was another LinkedIn leak, like normal. It seems like High Moon has been helping Bungie with mission design, whatever that means. I don't know if that's like, hey, we made this mission, go crazy, or it's, hey, we made this architecture for this level and you happen to have a mission in it. Who knows? But interesting. It's interesting to see them kind of calling in more help.
yeah, I like the idea of them having more help.
Yeah.
I just I'm not sold on High Moon yet.
Yeah, they've had trouble. They've had a rocky road.
I mean, they did that Deadpool game too, I'm pretty sure,
Yep.
which let's be honest, as much as I like, say, the last two-thirds of that game for kind of some of the really inappropriate comedy in it,
Hmm.
it is really kind of a piece of junk.
High Moon reminds me a lot of Obsidian before South Park: The Stick of Truth, where like all of us are saying like, yeah, Alpha Protocol is really great. You guys should play it. And everybody plays it, and they're like, no, that is, what did you make me play? This is not great. And so we're like, no, it's pretty great. And then Stick of Truth comes out and it's like, see, as I told you, yeah. I
I
think
guess
High Moon just needs that that partnership, the time, the money.
I guess that is true. Like none of their games has had the amount of time they've needed in the oven. Like the
Yeah,
first time they did that Transformers game, who is it? Is it Activision who
I think so.
publishes all them? Like they basically were like, "Ooh, give us another one in a year," and they're
Yeah,
like,
and they're like,
"Well,
okay, I guess. I mean, you
give
know
us a
what you're
movie
gonna get though.
tie-in next year," and they literally did that to them every time. So none of
Yeah,
those Transformers games have. Yeah, I mean, unless they have two teams going, which I imagine they're small studios, that's probably just as detrimental.
yeah,
I mean, none of them probably had more than a year of development time. So, and that Deadpool game probably had even less.
yeah. Probably with how weird Marvel licensing is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I don't know. I think E3 is what is it now? A week and a half away. Um, I think there's a lot of stuff that Bungie needs to show to keep a lot of people interested because I'm still playing Destiny a lot, but if the content kind of fizzles out, then at some point you kind of do everything. You have all the stuff you want, you have all the weapons you want, and I don't want to get to the point where I got to the point where I got to with WoW at some point where it's sort of like, what am I doing? Like, I'm grinding archaeology and fishing. Like, what am I doing with my time? I don't really want
Yeah.
Destiny to turn into that. So,
Destiny does have one leg up in that so many of the people I know play that game.
hmm
That I mean, it's gonna probably have a little bit of, I guess, coasting in that all it will be like two or three of them to buy it, and then the rest will begrudgingly do it, whether they want it or not, just so
yeah.
they can play online with their friends.
And it hasn't even been out a year, and so the community is still really strong. There's still a ton of people playing. When you hop into any activity that requires matchmaking, you get nearly immediately match made. So it's certainly not a problem. The numbers are certainly there, and the players are still there. It's just as a development company, can you keep them around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's all my games. So
all right, Mina, what about you?
Okay, so I played a couple games, but I'll only touch on three. The first one I played was More Citizens of Earth. Recruitment is still crazy. I've recruited like a beekeeper now, a car salesman, a hobo.
Just getting the whole
And
crew together.
it's so interesting. Oh, the best one that I've recruited now is a pilot. She's able to teleport around places I've been, so that's pretty
Mm,
sweet.
that'd be
Um,
very nice.
the hobo can dig around through garbage and get you stuff from the garbage. Um, The entire cast is so goofy, and the story it's pulling me along quite nicely. I have hit a stopping point so far in the game, though. I don't like to look at walkthroughs when I play a game for the first time. I kind of have like this thing that I feel like the game should be able to tell me where to go and what to do.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I've hit a point where I'm looking at the game and the game's looking back at me and the game's like, "What? You should know what to do by now." And
Yeah.
I'm looking at the game like, I have no idea where you want me to go right now. I am so lost. And it's not as linear as I thought this game would be. There's so many places I can go. Like, I think I can go beat up the Girl Scouts and head up towards the Girl Scout camp, but I haven't gone that way. And I think that I could go to the Flushmore where all the sewage goes to, but I haven't decided to go there either. I'm 99% sure I'm not supposed to go down to where all the joggers are, because they really hurt really badly. Like, they work out and they beat me up pretty badly. I'm almost 150% sure I'm not supposed to go up to the desert where the cactuses are attacking me.
This whole game
now-
sounds just like a nightmare.
The entire city is full of inanimate objects and the military trying to attack the vice president. So I'm not too sure what to do there either. So I'm just kind of like lost in the game. I have recruited a ton of characters. I've got the super fan who is a girl in a wheelchair. I've got so many people on my team, you know, and
so many crazy misfits.
they're all crazy, and every time I level them, I get like the craziest abilities. My favorite is the Moonbucks girl, who she's a pure support character, but she just like she boosts everybody in your party by so much, like gives them extra turns and refills their special moves, so they could do tons of amazing damage. The cop I have can completely nullify an attack. I think I have somebody who can actually stop the enemy from going a turn or something like that. There's also sorts of crazy characters. Psychiatrist. I can just a crazy cast. I love this game. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. I'm a little lost right now. I'm hoping I can figure out so that way I can proceed with the story. The other game I'm stuck on is a game that is pretty familiar with everybody. It's Costume Quest, and I am stuck.
Is it the first one?
Yeah, it's the first
Yeah.
one. I am actually stuck because I think I'm bad at the game. I just got the space police outfit, and I'm walking around. Is it the mall or something? Or
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that the mall's a place in that game.
okay. I'm there, and the enemies that are blocking my path are really, really tough, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do because they're all beating me up pretty badly. So I think I just need to pick better costumes or rotate them around and figure out which one can help me beat the dudes, because things are not working out so well.
Yeah, sometimes in Costume Quest 1 and 2 has this problem maybe a little bit more is sometimes you need a specific costume to get through something, either to get someone to talk to you or its ability just absolutely decimates the enemy, and it's sometimes bad about I think it sometimes assumes that you're going to use the costume you got in that area to beat enemies, but you just got it, so you kind of don't know how to use it. So I sort of fell into that trap a lot in those games.
Right now, the Space Police costume seems to do like its special move seems to hit really, really hard on one enemy specifically. But I'm going up against like 3 enemies that will be like 2 of them are super, super tanky and big and bulky, and then there will be a healer. So I always go for the healer first because I do not need to prolong this fight any longer than it has to be.
Yeah.
So I take down the healer, and usually I have the 2 bulky guys left, and they just kind of whoop me. And I'm wondering what I'm doing wrong. I only have two enemies to really fight that are in my way.
Is that you might want to try? I don't remember too much about the first costume quest, but I think if I remember, either like poisoning someone or setting someone on fire was really, really strong. I don't remember if you have costumes that can do that.
I do kind of. The robot special move does an AoE that does a fire grouping.
Yeah.
And then I usually been pairing that up with my partner being on Lady Liberty to heal.
Yeah.
But I'm not winning.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm wondering if it's because maybe I need to bring out the knight again and have the knight go into full turtle mode, and I don't know. Maybe get lucky.
It's been so long since I played that game. I don't remember.
I remember nothing about that game. I remember there was some point where I got stuck, and it turned out I just wasn't interacting with the environment in a way that I evidently could. Yeah. But I think that was earlier than the mall. But I don't know.
I'm going to have to figure out what I'm doing wrong. I'm pretty sure I've fought every enemy in my path, though, so I haven't been, like, skipping out on any XP or something.
Yeah.
So the last game that I've put time into is Chaos Springs 3,
Ooh.
that phone game. So I've never played the first one or the second one. I have no idea what they're about.
I played a little bit of the first one, but not much.
Okay. So the only reason why I actually even picked it up was somebody sent me a message saying, "Hey, this game is like Persona." And I was like, "Hey, that's all you needed to sell me on this
well,
game."
All right then.
And I went to the store and I downloaded it. Little asterisk, it is not like Persona. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's just like asterisk, it is not. It's more like if you've played Tokiden, it's more like that, or I guess the next closest thing would be kind of like a Monster Hunter. Kind of. Because you have your main city with your hub and your quests that you go back to, and you have like a little creature you go back to your house and feed, and it gives you stuff, kind of like the whole Monster Hunter thing. And there's like the daily quests you can rotate around and like try and pick and choose what you want. If you played Tokiden, that's more on what this game is kind of like, where there is that sort of card system, and you level up these spirits. I think that's what the game chooses to call them. I think they're spirits, heroic spirits, or something like that. And I know there's an actual name for it, and I'm resisting the urge to call them personas. And you level up these heroic spirits, and they each have like abilities that they can learn, and there's some fusing you can do to make them into other sort of heroic spirits, and you can up their rarity somehow that I haven't quite figured out. Anyways, the game is it's pretty all right. I don't think it's that bad. Its story doesn't seem too deep. They have so far I've only gained 2 sub characters. I'm pretty sure there's more like partners that you get to fight with you. You just revisit the same dungeons over and over, kind of like Monster Hunter. I'm trying to think. It's a pretty good game. I like it. For a phone game, it's actually super, super pretty. The music's all right. It's made by Square, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like it's kind of one of Square's better mobile games, where it's pretty good. It's like, it's not anything necessarily entirely new, but it's just kind of the same thing, just really well made.
Yeah, and I don't know if any of that was kind of like the first one that you played. Was it any? Does that sound any familiar?
It sounds like it. The first one was a little bit more straightforward. It didn't have like at least where I got to, it didn't have all the fusing and rarity and all that. It seemed like a little bit more straightforward. Then it sounds like they've kind of continued to improve it as it goes on.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and there is like some sort of choice system that I'm doing. Like I'm picking options, but I don't know if it's actually doing anything or if it's just like giving me the option to say, yes, I like to do this, or I'm okay with this. Like
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what is going on with these choices, if it's supposed to change anything at all, but it doesn't seem to be. Maybe it is, and I don't know about it. What else can I think about this game? Oh, weaknesses. The one thing that I don't like about this game is that exploiting enemy weaknesses always means you are pretty much exploiting your own weakness. So I didn't think too much about that when I was fighting this one boss, and I was like, oh, he's weak to this. I am going to, switch my character to this heroic spirit and cast the spell that it's weak to, thusly exposing myself to being one shot by him. And I was like,
Oh, geez.
that was probably why I didn't want to do that.
That sounds like an immensely difficult mechanic to use.
Yeah.
It really is. The only thing I can think of is by the whole fusion sort of thing, by fusing the spell, like let's say fire and water are opposites. Okay, let's just pretend that's the case.
Sure.
I don't remember if that's the actual opposites of
It's a
this
safe
game.
assumption.
So let's say this enemy is fire, so you're like, oh, I'm going to cast water on this. Well, of course, the things that I have right now that can cast water are all things that are water element. So if it casts fire on me, I'm just blown to smithereens.
Oh.
So the only thing I can think of is like when you get to the fusing part of the thing and you're fusing one heroic spirit with another heroic spirit to make a third one, that you can pick up maybe a water spell or a fire spell and put it on your new whatever wind creature or something like that, and now you don't have to worry about having that exploited weakness. That's the only thing I can think of, because right now if I try to exploit enemy weaknesses, I suffer greatly from the penalty.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh, and you do not really level up in this game. It's definitely your heroic spirits that level up, because I will have level 15 heroic spirits on my other two characters, and then my main character, I'll be like, well, I want to level up this spirit so that way I can unlock this spell, but I have to start at level 1. His stats will be very, very, very low. Like, he'll have, like, to exaggerate, maybe he'll have, like, 50 health, and his buddies have 200, and he gets walloped by anything that pokes him. So, I think that's not good either. You can feed heroic spirits to other heroic spirits to kind of like level them up, like level boost, I guess. Which, I mean, if you get too many of those cards, I suppose that's a good choice. But all in all, interesting game. I don't hate it, but whoever told me that it was like Persona, I think
halfway right.
kind of.
Yeah.
Sounds like it has as much in common with Persona as it does Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think Tokiden would have been a better analogy.
I guess I've never played Tokiden.
It's
is that
similar.
the Age of Demons game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and it sounds like it has a lot similar with some of the recent hit mobile games like Puzzle and Dragons, and then that that one where you're bouncing enemies around the screen. I don't remember what that's called. I played it, Dragon blast or something like that. Sounds like it has very similar things where you have all these enemies and you're kind of combining them and feeding them to level up all these other enemies and fusing them together and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad of a game, and yeah, it's definitely got that mobile sort of card leveling sort of thing that's been going on. That's been a hit.
Yeah.
So just a little more polished. Definitely has that square look and square feel all over it. So if you're looking for that, this is a pretty good,
Yeah.
pretty good option. But that's all I've really been playing. What about you, Boston?
I put a ton of time into Etrian Mystery Dungeon before the game wanted me to stop playing it, clearly.
Uh-oh.
Mina, I took your advice, and here's my party. I have a Land Knight, a Gunner, a Medic, and a Rune Master.
Rune Master.
Rune Master. Everyone, if you're gonna play Etrian Mystery Dungeon, you should listen to Mina and put a Rune Master in your party because it makes the game really easy.
Yes.
I was much happier with the game when I put a Rune Master in my party because Rune Master is kind of weird for people that haven't played it. It's basically your spellcaster, but kind of elemental and kind of support at the same time. Whereas Medic is not a ton of support and mostly healing, with a couple of physical attack spells, which is weird. I really like Etrian Mystery Dungeon, and I got up until the point where I beat the 4th or 5th dungeon, I think it was.
Oh my gosh.
And then the game puts an artificial roadblock in place by saying, well, the next dungeon is not ready. Just go out and do some quests before we open the next one up. And I was sort of like, well, crap, I just cleared like 2 dungeons in one sitting. Like, I kind of want to keep this momentum going. And that just stopped me cold all at once, and I haven't touched it in I think 3 weeks. And it's a real bummer because I was really, really enjoying it, surprisingly, and it was getting really tough. I don't know how far you got in it, Mina.
I was in like the 2nd dungeon. You breezed by me.
Yeah, they started doing some really crazy stuff. They start having their own version of FOEs.
Yeah.
And they call them DOEs, and which is crazy. And early on in the game, they introduced the whole thing about having your what is it, keeps or whatever they are at the tops of dungeons. And it really doesn't make a lot of sense when they first introduce it because it seems like it's mostly a place to put your weaker party members to get them leveled up, sort of while you're off doing your thing. But then when they introduce the DOEs, those keeps are the only thing that stops the DOEs from climbing all the way out of a dungeon and destroying the town. And if they destroy the town, you can't do anything in the town for a while they rebuild the town.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so it's this real high risk thing where it's every dungeon you have to put a keep at least at the very top. You can sort of build multiple ones going down, but I don't have enough party members to do that. And if a DOE gets to the keep and defeats it, it destroys the keep and then wanders back down to the bottom of the dungeon, and then starts its ascent again. But what can actually happen is if you have strong enough party members in your keep, it can actually defeat the DOE and stave off a DOE from attacking from that dungeon for a while. So there's this really interesting kind of push and pull on some of that stuff. It's just a real bummer that I couldn't... And like all the quests they gave me were kind of grindy, and it's just sort of like, I really don't want to do this. I just want to get into this next dungeon, so...
Go down the floor to blah, 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 and find blah.
Yeah, like harvest, however many rocks from this stuff. And it's like, that kind of sucks. Like, that's not the fun that I'm looking for. The nice thing is the bosses continue to be really tough. Not unfairly so, but if you go in unprepared, they're not going to stop from completely stomping you.
How'd you do on the first dungeon boss?
That was pretty tough. I lucked out and I guessed on like my second or third attack with my Rune Master that it was if you continue to attack it with lightning spells that it just shocks and it just completely paralyzes itself.
Yeah.
So that was really nice, and I've continued to do that with some bosses and DOEs ongoing. Because if you run into a DOE in the dungeon, it's not like an FOE from Etrian Odyssey, where when you first run into them, you shouldn't attack them at all. The DOEs are pretty nasty because you have to kill all of the enemies they spawn before the shield on them lowers, and then you can attack them. But if you have a really solid party, they will just start taking down enemies one at a time, and then you just whittle down the entire field and then attack the DOE. It'll be tough, but it's not impossible like an FOE is.
When you have a DOE, does it go into like the same boss mode, or does it stay on like the whole party does whatever they want sort of
it
thing?
stays on the standard party does whatever it wants.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's kind of neat because it's kind of this halfway between your normal dungeon where you're fighting normal easy enemies and then kind of the boss where it's just this one at a time very specific thing. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of fun, but I felt like that brick wall it put up was impassable at the moment and just kind of stopped any progress I had. So instead of playing Etrian Mystery Dungeon, I finished Final Fantasy X HD. I bought the PS4 version because, of course, I pre-ordered it and I didn't remember, so figured why not. Final Fantasy X on PS4 looks really good, and it has eliminated almost all of the loading times, which I think is the best thing out of that version. So I finished it, and the ending is really great as normal. And I decided, man, maybe I'll try to go for the platinum. Like, let me at least give it a shot. That's not gonna happen.
What is the platinum, like what platinum requirements are there that are
the biggest one up everybody's sphere grid? And
no.
it's not even that you need to complete it, it's that you have to fill in every single node and then activate every node on everybody's. And it's just like I can't justify like 100 more hours. Like I'm not even exaggerating for people listening. Mina knows. It's so much time to get it. And it's not even hard. It's just I'm going to put on a movie and watch it while I continue to beat up these one or two enemies in the monster arena. And
just
then
so
I'm just going to do that for 100 hours. So
I actually had a friend who on the original, what was it, PS2 was what it came out on, who did that in the PS2 version.
it's crazy. That's crazy.
It is crazy. He's a
And
dad now. He doesn't have time
He didn't
for it
even
anymore.
get the achievement.
Yeah, you didn't even have trophies to get.
Imagine being that person, and you pick up this version, and it's just like, whatever, guys.
Yeah. So I mean,
Let me transfer my game.
yeah. So I'm really happy that. And the big thing for the PS4 version is you can switch back to the original soundtrack and not the arranged one, which I prefer the arranged one. Nobody attack me. So it's kind of nice that they have that option, and man, does it look really good. They actually, it looks like, and Square said this, that they went back and they put additional passes on a bunch of really big enemies and your character models, so they look even better than the PS3 and the Vita versions, which they do. Yeah, Final Fantasy X is... I really don't enjoy the story of it. I never really have, but man, that battle system and that sphere grid is really good. If you haven't played Final Fantasy X before, the PS4 version is probably the best one, because there's no loading times, it looks really great, it's incredibly smooth, and it's really, really good. So I figured since I'm not going to finish Final Fantasy X, why don't I start 10-2? And I did, and I still really like 10-2, even though it is really goofy and a little bit dumb.
I love 10 too.
I'm kind of thinking about, instead of playing it on my own, live streaming it, because I only played 10-2, I think, twice when it came out, because I played through normal and then I played through New Game Plus. I remember really liking it and playing through it again and I only played like an hour and a half. I can see why I really liked it. It is a faster paced battle system where they're kind of combining Final Fantasy X's like character switching and Final Fantasy V's job system, where you're changing out the jobs in these dress spheres, and you're leveling them up and you're collecting them. It's just I think for the first time I realized why people didn't really like this game. It is so tonally different from Final Fantasy X. From the first minute you start that game, it's goofy and it's campy and it's a little bit weird and it's just kind of, Brother is there and he's still the worst. And it's just kind of, if you really clicked with Final Fantasy X, 10-2 is probably everything you didn't want in a sequel to 10, story-wise. But I still I like when Final Fantasy has fun with itself and kind of at its own expense. Because there's a lot of stuff in there that's kind of tongue-in-cheek, and I can appreciate that. So maybe I'll stream that at some point, but Final Fantasy V Four Job Fiesta is coming up really soon, so I'm so excited. And for anybody that's interested in it, there's a new type of run this year, the Chaos Run, that we don't know a lot about, but it sounds like you might get jobs that you don't have unlocked yet. So I'm curious to see who totally gets screwed by that. But I have pre-registered for a normal random run, so not going too crazy this year at the start. So I don't know if you've pre-registered yet, Mina.
I have not, but I am doing it right now.
Are you gonna berserker risk?
The thing was, I actually didn't complete last year's run. I had a team that it made me so sad. I'm wondering if I should dare or not dare.
You should just do like a regular normal run to kind of come back from last year.
Yeah.
So I started the Dragon Age Inquisition DLC, the Jaws of Hakon, as how they pronounce it, which is surprising. And I played maybe 15 minutes. Most of that time was me sort of trying to figure out how to play this game again. And then going and closing a rift. And it's like, oh, the enemies are level 24. I didn't realize that I was level 24 as well, and that went really poorly. So I'm going to have to go back to some older areas and remember how to play Dragon Age again. But the last two games I've played this, actually very recently, are two games I played a little bit of, just to kind of get through the tutorial, and I'm definitely going to play one more than the other, because they're both really similar. That's Massive Chalice and Skulls of the Shogun. Massive Chalice is going to win out on this one. Sorry, Skulls of the Shogun. Both games are very, very similar in that they are kind of SRPG games. But when you look at Massive Chalice, it's very, very influenced by, as part of the Kickstarter, they said, we want to make a new Final Fantasy Tactics. They kind of did. It doesn't have the grid system that for movement that Tactics does. But it adheres to sort of a grid system. But man, everything about Massive Chalice seems really promising. It seems difficult enough. The creating these different houses in the game so that you can get more people in your kingdom seems really interesting. I've only played probably about a half an hour just to get through the initial tutorial stuff, but that seems really impressive so far. It looks really great. Music is really interesting. The voice acting is pretty funny. It seems pretty tongue-in-cheek about the lore in the game. Basically, a giant talking chalice is in your throne room in the game. It resurrects you from the dead, it would seem, but you can't leave the throne room, so you have to send all your minions out to fight fight the encroaching darkness. And then it kind of sends you on its way. It seems really promising. It seems really interesting. Doesn't seem like it has very much of an equipment or a loot system, but I don't know if they unlock that later.
So, I was a backer for this game.
I was too, yeah.
Did you get a house name?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Me with Kickstarters, it's like I will dump you like $100, and then you guys make a game, and then hey, look, I got all this stuff. I don't know. I have to go back and look.
So I do have a house in it. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember basing the shield and like the whole like thought house of the house around tentacles.
Okay.
So.
Someone should really look for that in game, because the neat thing about it, at the very beginning of the game, there's a couple of options. One option is, do you want to only have serious houses? Do you want to only have joke houses, or do you want to have both, kind of in the pool of houses you can get? I chose both because I want to see some of both of them. And then when you start out, you have an option of 6 houses, and the very first option is basically like, hey, we're just going to pick them for you. But if you go in, you can see the entirety of the list of houses in the game. So if you have your own house, you can go in there and you can pick.
Nice.
You can specifically pick yours, or like yours and your friends.
I really don't remember mine. I remember I was listed as a joke house at first because I looked up the Cthulhu language and made up a sentence with the Cthulhu language.
As one does.
And then I was like, I got bummed out when they put the beta out. They're like, we didn't include any of the joke houses. I'm like, well, I guess I'll go put English.
Yeah, it looks like from my backing that I did not go with one that would have gotten me a house. So that's kind of a bummer.
I was really happy to hear that they included that as a free game on Xbox Gold.
Yeah, especially since it just came out this past week. That was pretty nice.
Yeah.
But that's all I've been playing this month, so let's take a break. Wow, typical PUP fashion, that was an entire hour. Thankfully, we have a ton of news stories.
Oh, yeah.
Musum, did you back Bard's Tale 4?
Hell yeah, I backed Bard's Tale 4.
I did too, and I'm like, you know what? I may not ever play that game, but I will throw you guys $50.
It hasn't met its goal yet, so I'm still kind of in. I'm sure 30 some odd days left. They're going to get the last $200,000 they need, but
it just hit. It's about to hit 1.1 million.
Good. It needs to. Want it to be made so bad.
Yeah. Well, you could always just throw more money at it.
I have thrown them too much money already. Like like the amount of money I threw them, I want to reduce that.
They should be naming one of their production babies after you.
I want to very much reduce that.
Yeah.
And if more people don't donate, then I'm worried that I won't.
Yeah.
Because like that other Kickstarter that came out, the Castlevania one that I don't remember the name of.
Yeah, I gave them a lot of money.
Like I started out giving them a lot of money, and then I gave them less and less, and now I'm not even a backer.
Oh wow! Well, it's one of those games where, it's not like Amplitude where like I threw a lot of money at them and they really needed it because that one just barely squeaked through. Yeah. I mean, the Castlevania one has like $50 bazillion right now, so they don't need my. I think I threw like $50 at them. They don't really need that.
They made like $4 or $5 million, and on top of that, that's not their budget for the game. That's the budget to show a publisher that they have an audience.
That's just like their intro money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, they'll be loads and loads fine.
They'll be fine.
But.
Man. All right. I might have to skip this tweet we had coming in because we're kind of running along here. How much time do you have left?
Got a little over an hour.
Okay.
So that Dragon Age Inquisition thing may suffer a bit. I'm sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. We might... these news stories are just so good.
They are. Do you want to just save the the mini spoiler cast for some other day?
Yeah.
I'll probably go pop back in my game to refresh my memory on some of the stuff.
Yeah, I might have to too. All right, we'll sort of assume I might still skip the tweet just because, in the interest of time here. But yeah, maybe we'll just skip out on that.
We were almost on E3. Of course, there's news stories.
Yeah, like TVGP is suffering for news stories, but not PUP. for one month of the year, we have just a ton of news stories.
Well, it's like all the companies realized all of their E3 news was going to leak, so they're like, screw it, let's just let them all know everything.
Yeah, let's just talk about it now. Why not? All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's talk about some RPG releases for June 2015. As we were just talking about, Massive Chalice came out for the Xbox One and the PC. It is free on Games with Gold on the Xbox One. So if you have that, it'll be free. I don't know if it's a full month game or the first half game. So either way, if you're interested in it, you should go get it now before it goes unfree. I think it's $20 otherwise.
Probably.
Seems like a pretty meaty game for your $20, so that's not too bad. Also, as I mentioned, Skulls of the Shogun Bonafide Edition, came out for the PS4. That's been out on the 360 for a while. I don't know what the improvements are on this version. Sorry. The Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited comes out for Xbox One and PS4 on the 9th. I believe this is the kind of first big update to the MMO that's coming out now. So I don't know anything about it other than that. So I'm clearly not your RPG expert this month for releases. Sorry. And last but not least, Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward comes out for PC, PS3, PS4, and OS X on the 23rd. Everybody seems super excited about that. And a lot of people have sort of been asking, as this expansion is coming out, how's the PS4 version? How's the community? They're all shared servers. So if you get it on PS4, the community is apparently incredibly active. So you kind of can't go wrong. I don't know if you've been still playing it or not, Mina.
I haven't been, but I do keep up with it because I have a lot of friends who do play it. It's going to have those 3 new jobs that people are excited about, that new race you can change to. I believe they're giving a Fantasia out with every purchase of the expansion, so people can, jump races to the new one, which is going to be like a half dragon sort of person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they said that there's going to be as much content in the expansion as the original release of the Final Fantasy 2.0 game. So,
well, that's pretty good.
Packed with story, packed with new content, 10 more levels added. Flying is going to be in the game. So
take that,
all
World
your
of Warcraft.
It's huge. It looks huge, and story has been really good from what I've seen. So,
wow. Well, speaking of huge, let's talk about this massive list of news stories we have. I thought this would be the list of things we'd talk about after E3, but here we are beforehand, and we're just covering it before then. First, and certainly one of the things I'm most excited for, the worst kept secret, Fallout 4 has been finally confirmed. Coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. They have doubly confirmed, in case you were curious. Definitely not coming out for 360 and PS3. That shouldn't be a surprise now. Set in Boston, looks like Dogmeat is back. Yay! And they put out a trailer that looks really good, was super long. It was like 2.5 minutes or so. It looks like Fallout. That's exciting.
I'm excited. Like, granted, they had the dog in the second one, and I don't remember if they had it in the first one, but
he was in. I think he's been in all of the mainline ones so far. I don't know if he was in New Vegas or not.
Yeah, I thought New Vegas was the one with the dog with the robot brain.
Oh, Yeah.
There was that.
I didn't play too much in New Vegas, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
King
Like
or something?
the best Fallout.
New Vegas was pretty great.
Yeah.
I've been tempted to go back and play one of the old ones
You
since
should
they
play
announced
2.
this.
2 still holds up.
You
1
see, I
is
wasn't
a
going.
little too old.
I was not going back that old.
Oh, well, 2 still holds up, in case anyone's wondering. 2 is still really good.
Man, I don't know. It looks fantastic to me. The Witcher fans are bumming me out about it, like complaining about the graphics. But other than
Oh
that,
no,
I think it's
I
great.
don't want to hear that. I am
Yeah,
so tired of that complaint.
Yeah, me too. I'm just, what I thought was really interesting about that trailer is something we don't see in a lot of trailers anymore. Is it looked like the majority of the trailer was in engine.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
And
especially from a Bethesda game, they never do that.
yeah, and I thought that was really cool because I sort of expect the game now to look pretty similar to that, and I feel like that's not unreasonable. It looked like video game graphics. So, I feel like that was a fairly representative trailer, and if it doesn't look like that, that's fine. I mean, it's not going to look like a PS1 game, so I don't really care.
I'll tell you, granted, I'm going to buy this game on PC no matter what, because that's what I do with these big Bethesda open world games, because I'm really into the modding. But historically, Bethesda has been terrible at the Sony releases, and I'm wondering if the PS4 is now PC enough that they will make a good Sony game, like a
Yeah, maybe.
fully functioning one, or if that's still going to be their weak platform.
I mean, I'll be buying it on PS4, so I will be able to let you know, either by me saying, yeah, it works, or me quietly crying in the corner.
Gosh, well, there's no way it could be as broken as their previous games on PS3 were, right? 'Cause
No, there were so many hardware issues on the PS3 that they didn't really appropriately account for, especially memory-wise, that I feel like that's not a mistake they can afford to make again. Whether they do or not, I can't say, but they really shouldn't.
I guess they do have that. I forgot my RAM name. I'm about to say Dance Dance Revolution. What is it? It's
DDR, yeah.
Is it DDR RAM? Yeah, the DDR5.
Yeah.
Isn't that it? So at least they have the okay.
PS4's hardware is really solid. So I mean, as long as they keep it within those bounds, and then plan for DLC, because that's the thing that really made a bad problem worse on Skyrim, especially. As long as they build that framework to plan for that now, then it should be okay.
So another thing I'm excited for on this. Now, granted, Bethesda's going to make something fantastic and mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
But a few years down the line, like previously, Obsidian got an opportunity to use all their tools to make Fallout New Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if In Exile got that opportunity?
Wow.
In Exile, the people who actually, I mean, Brian Fargo, the producer, or even Obsidian again, I'd be cool with that too. But
yeah,
granted, both companies are kind of getting entrenched in the Kickstarter games.
yeah, they're living the Kickstarter dream over there.
I would just love to see like some of the original heads return to Fallout again.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it'd be kind of neat. So I'm expecting we'll see a lot more of that during E3. Hopefully a little bit of gameplay, because they haven't really talked about that yet. Kind of curious to see what, if anything, they do with the with VATS.
yeah.
See if they. I'm not really expecting them to change that up very much. That has been a thing that's been pretty stable since Fallout 1. But I don't know if they'll have pressure in the need to change that or not.
It got a lot of negative feedback. I wouldn't be surprised if they completely revisited that system. And they did hire someone from Bungie, I believe, for it was one of their combat systems guys or something
interesting.
like that, or heads. So, I mean, that may have. Granted, this was in the last year, so it may have been too late for him to actually do anything on that. But
Right.
I will be curious if that affects it.
Yeah. Next news story here. XCOM 2 announced is surprisingly an exclusive on PC. probably for better or for worse. Made by the same team that made Enemy Unknown, so it's gonna be good again, as long as they don't mess with it too much. And then they're saying that it follows the story of the first one, where the initiative failed, and then aliens have assimilated into our society. So that could be a pretty cool story. It seems like they might be pushing story a little bit more in this one than they did in the first one, which could be pretty interesting. And they've said also they're not shipping with controller support.
That weirds me out.
It's kind of surprising nowadays. They were pretty honest about it, saying like, look, we're going to put it out and then we're going to do controller support later. But with how popular the first XCOM was on consoles, I'm really surprised that they are only planning to be on PC.
I mean, they basically reinvented that genre with the controller.
I mean,
and like everyone has copied it since, and
Yep.
now they're not doing it again. It's
I
weird.
mean, they were one of the companies that showed, hey, you can, most people said like, well, this is never going to work on a controller. That's crazy. And then everybody that got their hands on it said, oh, this is actually pretty fun. All right.
I'm a keyboard and mouse guy, and I played it with a controller on PC. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I played it on 360. Like, that's like the least obvious place to play it. So, they've had some PR out there about how they're really pushing the engine and they're really pushing stuff and they're really trying to do stuff. The standard sort of PR stuff, which doesn't sound like it would be a reason not to put it out on consoles. But who knows? I'm just glad we're getting another XCOM. If I need to play it on PC, I'll play it on PC. That's fine. I can do that. I have a wireless keyboard and mouse, and I got hook up something to my TV that can mirror my computer.
Or blow a bunch of money and pre-order one of those Steam machines.
I have actually been on there's a bundle that's Valve has with the controller and a Steam Link for $100.
Have you been hovering over it like me?
I've really been hovering.
What, $100? I could dive for that.
Yeah,
I could do that too.
There's no price break because each one is $50, but it just sounds. I have used the very first Steam controller, the one that was 3D printed, and went to people that got the original Valve Steam boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it's a pretty cool concept. And the video they showed that showed the newer version of it looks really cool. So that could be really neat. So I don't know. I want to buy it. I want it. I need it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to, because that's... Look, I pre-ordered a freaking PlayStation TV. I'm obviously not worried about losing $100.
Right. And Steam Link is great. For only $50, it's basically just... it's a remote play for your computer that's running Steam on it, and you just plug it in your TV, and cool, that's great. So, I don't know. All right, next news story. Bravely Second coming to the West in 2016, titled Bravely Second End Layer. I don't think that this was really, I don't think everyone was like, ooh, I don't know if it's going to come out, since the first one did so well here in North America. But it's kind of nice to have them say, yes, it's actually coming out. And, you'll see it sometime next year. So hopefully we can finish Persona 5 before this comes out. Right, everyone? Right, Atlas? 2015 still, please? Oh, my God. I'm going to be watching Atlas like a hawk during E3.
Me too.
Because, man, I need that release date. And also a pre-order link. I pre-ordered Persona 4 Dancing. I need to pre-order Persona 5. Like, let's do this.
My
Guys,
gosh.
I'm hanging in there barely by a thread. I have not seen a single Persona 5 trailer. Have no idea what the main character looks like.
Stay strong, Mina.
Friend, I am falling apart, though. I really want to look.
Stay strong. I can tell you, looks pretty cool. Persona 5, please.
Needs to happen sooner than later.
Yeah, they're still saying 2015, so...
At least open. I actually read a bunch of speculation, because evidently during one of Atlas's news calls or something like that, not news calls, business backer, whatever things, they were talking about certain large releases they were doing, and evidently there is a placeholder for this fall that a lot of people think are for Persona 5. So
I mean,
I've
that's
been hearing October is what I've been hearing.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not going to release it during the summer. Summer's not really an RPG time, and they can't release it in November because that's like Call of Duty, Destiny. That's the
Yep.
real big tentpole games. So October is really the only place they have to go except for December, but that doesn't do well for Atlas. So
well, they did release the Golden the last week in November, I think.
yeah, but I think that was successful
also
because it was
Vita.
on the Vita.
By
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, I mean,
That is a good
yay,
point.
something to play on the Vita. Woohoo! Like, poor Vita. Yeah, but please soon. Please soon. Anywho, next news story. Bard's Tale 4 hit Kickstarter, developed by In Exile Entertainment. Yusuf and I were both talking about backing that here between the break. I have not played any of the previous Bard's Tale games. I know very little about them other than Musum really likes them. So hoping it's good. It's almost funded already after like 2 days.
Yeah, and it like the first digital tier to get the game is $25.
It's
a
really
pretty
reasonable.
It's a pretty safe bet in that you're talking. It's In Exile, which is a studio founded by Brian Fargo, who was the head of Interplay during Interplay's heyday when they released Baldur's Gate and Fallout and
All the good stuff you love.
Yeah, and helped bring BioWare into existence.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it didn't help bring it, but they published a few BioWare games. But Bard's Tale classically was a dungeon crawler, like a wizardry. The modern day version, they've actually released some in-game footage, which to old players, there's a lot of call-outs in that footage. But they've gone on record saying, "Look, you're not going to need to break out the graph paper."
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they've said they've looked at like Legends of Grimrock, and
That was the game I was thinking of, yeah.
yeah, a few of the others in terms of that, and said, "Look, these games have been neat and inventive, but no one's really gone real crazy with this." So they've very much gone to the Scottish roots of the game because the game's always taken place in Skara in Scotland. If you look in the in-game engine video footage that they showed, they go into a dungeon, solve a puzzle to open a magic door. As they're walking in, you hear something talking in the background, and then you eventually see it, but you may miss it, and that's a magic mouth. In the classic games, there were these giant stone mouths on the walls, similar to the movie Labyrinth or something.
Kind of like the Fable games. Those,
do they have
talking
those?
Doors.
Yeah. And these were sometimes they're just information and sometimes they're puzzles that you can get things from. But as they're walking in, their mage casts a spell, which I'm guessing is the old classic stone light, which makes stone walls glow. But in this one, all the walls light on fire, and it looks kind of awesome. But evidently, one of the they haven't even announced any. I forgot what they call them, the extra tiers in terms of goals.
The stretch goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Brian Fargo has said on Twitter that one of the stretch goals is going to involve how you view the combat system. And I'm guessing right now, just meeting the basic tier, they're going to do it like the old combat system, where you'll see the enemies in front of you, and then effects will happen on them.
Yeah, kind of like the old school Shin Megami Tensei, first person dungeon crawler.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be like an Etrian Odyssey or something like that. And I'm guessing if they meet their stretch goal, they'll have enough budget to start including animations for the hero characters, and it might span out to something else. But if you're thinking this is going to be like the 2004 comedy game, it's not.
Yeah, that doesn't really exist. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. So, but I really want this to get made. I don't know. Bard's Tale is one of my favorite series. It just has a good nostalgic place in my heart. I don't recommend going back and playing the old ones at all.
They're just a little too old.
That's being kind.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of strategy involved in them, but
Yeah.
I love the world. I love what they're showing us here, and I hope they make it, which I think they will. They have 34 days left. They need another $200,000. I think they'll be fine. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Next news story here, Final Fantasy Type 0 HD coming to Steam. Square Enix says it will be an enhanced port featuring new graphical options, improved battle and camera controls, thank you, and more. It's kind of nice to see, even though Lightning Returns isn't out yet, which they say is still coming. It's kind of nice to see Square putting more effort behind putting stuff out on Steam. I still need to get back to Type 0 HD, as I've played maybe 15 minutes. But that's not a game I would have expected to come out on Steam, but I'm kind of glad more people will have the chance to play that. A game that didn't even seem like it was going to come out here ever. Nice to have that option. BioWare says they're not done with Dragon Age Inquisition's story quite yet. What is that? Creative director Mike Laidlaw wrote that. Basically, he wrote, we have some intensity. We're kind of doing that addictive type of game development. It's a rush when things come together. And someone asked him, "Oh, what are you working on? Like Mass Effect, or what are you doing?" And he said, "Quote, oh, we're not quite done with story content for Dragon Age Inquisition just yet." So there we go, I guess. So one day we will just get a patch and it will say, "Hey, there's new DLC available." Again, probably. So
judging by how they did with their last one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they're going to do ongoing, because the first DLC was not really very well received. Sounds a little thin and a little expensive, so it'd be interesting to see what they come out with next. I'm not expecting them to come out with an Awakening sort of thing where it's this whole new, incredibly meaty experience, but hopefully there's a pretty good middle ground there. Grandia 2 being remastered for Steam. Talking about other surprising RPGs coming out. If you haven't played Grandia 2, when it comes out on Steam, go play it. Grandia 2 is really great. And they're actually basing it on the Dreamcast version, not the really kind of poor PC port that came out in like 2002. Grandia 2 is fantastic. I don't know if either of you have played any of the Grandia games or not.
I've played 3, and I messed up badly on 3. I saved after I got to some place that you could no longer go back to the old places to level, and I was stuck.
The Final Fantasy Tactics problem. Yeah, the Grandia 2 is really great. It's just a really solid, well-made, late 90s, early 2000s RPG. Voice acting's pretty okay. Graphics will probably be punched up a little bit, but just a really fun, really solid game. Next news story, surprisingly and importantly, Wasteland 2 Game of the Year Edition announced. This is a really meaty news story, so I'm going to try and break it down. First off, it's coming out on PS4 and Xbox One, which is great, because I'll probably pick it up for PS4. That will include all of the updates that we're going to talk about here in a second. But nicely, the Game of the Year Edition is coming out for Windows OS 10 and Linux, those versions, for free. It's just going to be a patch. So, yeah. Who made that? In Exile?
Yeah.
Yay, In Exile. Go back, Bard's Tale 4. So, game's being updated to Unity 5, so it's going to have better music, sounds, texture, lighting, and they said they're adding thousands of lines of new voiceovers, so all of that is pretty great.
I've seen some of the graphic comparisons, and they're pretty drastic, so...
Oh, nice. That was already a pretty good-looking game, so nice to see that they're kind of punching that up a little bit. They're introducing the Precision Strike system where you can target and cripple individual body parts. That sounds like a pretty major change. That sounds a lot like what I would do with Fallout, oddly enough. Kind of keeping our theme here. They're also introducing the perks and quirks system where you can individualize characters with bonuses and trade-offs. The example that they're throwing around is Raised in the Circus, where you have increased agility in battle, but you look like a clown. So that sounds like it could be a lot of fun. And I like those systems where it's kind of like, well, you get this really great boost, but something really weird happens, or you're kind of, like you're really very strong, but you're also kind of a real big dummy now. So that'll be kind of interesting. Also, last but not least, they're overhauling game balance, item drops, and reworking the majority of the combat counters through the game. So it sounds like they're just kind of not really remaking this game, but they're kind of tweaking the entirety of it and then just adding a lot more stuff.
Yeah, as much as I liked Wasteland 2, it wasn't hugely strategic in its combat play. And it sounds like they had all the systems there, they just couldn't quite get that final mark they needed on it,
Yeah,
so
it
sounds like
together.
Yeah, it sounds like they're doing that, and I'm pretty excited for it, but I've already spent 90 hours in that game. Am I going to do it again?
You're going to hop on that horse again.
Yeah.
Namco announced very recently Tales of Berseria, which is just really a Tales title. Releasing for PS3 and PS4 and centers around the female protagonist Velvet. Seems like she's the only protagonist in this game, which is going to be kind of nice for a Tales game because it's usually, like you see in Zillia, are you going to play as the guy or are you going to play as the lady? And it's kind of nice to see, here is this woman and she's your main character. So go play a Tales game. So that should be pretty interesting. Not sure we've seen anything else about that. We'll probably see more on that in TGS whenever that happens, September, something like that. But like a lot of Tales games, we'll probably won't see much until we kind of get this dump and then the game is just out. Because Namco Bandai is crazy. Final Fantasy 15 episode Dusuke 2.0 coming out June 9th. This is kind of crazy. They are upgrading and updating the demo for Final Fantasy 15. Camera and targeting fixes. You get a basic combat roll, some combat fixes, and then improved frame rate. Which frame rate was okay before, but it sounds like they're just going to kind of smooth it out. It sounds like they're kind of adding a bunch of stuff to the game now, to the demo now. But it seems like they're keeping some of that under wraps. It's going to be out in a couple of days anyway, so not too surprising. But that's kind of nice. It's kind of interesting to see them saying, like, hey, Final Fantasy 15 is still a ways off, but let's at least give you something more to do with this demo that you got. So that's kind of neat. I don't know if you can still get that with Type 0 HD or not. But I'm surprised they haven't released it separately yet. So, weird. Okay. 2 more news stories, sort of short, quick ones here. Gaijin Works / Monkey Paw is gauging interest for a Summon Night 5 physical package. This is a PSP game they are localizing. And like they've done with a couple other releases, a couple of them I have somewhere over there, you can go sign up for a mailing list. And basically you're telling them, I would like to purchase a physical copy of this, and here's the number of copies I want to get. They put out really good physical copies. Since this is a PSP game, you will get a PSP UMD and package and everything. You will get a downloadable version that works on the Vita, so you can actually play it.
Ooh.
Yeah. They only need 6,000 reservations for them to make the physical version. They have 2,000 so far. So if you want to get a copy, I think it's going to be $40 or $50, so it's nothing too crazy. Go to the show notes and go click on the link and go sign up for the mailing list. The stuff they put out is really good. You get a nice new package and you kind of get the official full thing. So it's kind of nice. And I kind of want to play a Summon Night game. Mina and I have been talking about Summon Night for pretty recently here, so I didn't know there was even a 5th one, so kind of excited to play that one. And last but not least, Darksiders 2 coming to PS4 with a funny / terrible punny title. Darksiders 2 : Definitive Edition coming out for the PS4. That kind of hurts me a little bit saying that. No release date, but it's probably going to be about $40. If you haven't played Darksiders 2, it's actually a pretty great Zelda RPG loot system kind of game. Darksiders 1 was pretty much a Zelda game. And then with Darksiders 2, they kind of put a loot system and they put leveling and RPG system on top of it. And I liked it. So that's pretty good. Musim, it looked like you were going to say something.
I was briefly going over puns in my head.
Oh,
I was thinking about asking
puns.
Yeah, if you died a little bit inside saying that name.
Mm-hmm. Here all week. But that's all the news stories we have. E3 is coming up in like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks here. So when we see you next month, we will hopefully have a ton of stuff like Persona 5's release date to talk about. But unfortunately, you'll have to wait yet another month. But
rumor has it Persona 5 may be the E3 badge.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised because Atlas has done the E3 badges for a couple years now.
Yeah.
So that'd be fun. It would make me sad that I'm not going to E3. But I don't want to go to LA. So LA's no fun to be in. Sorry to anybody that lives in LA. We actually do have a tweet, but we're going to skip it. We're kind of running out of time here. If you want to visit us, you can do so at pickingupthepixels.com. Tweet us at pickinguppixels, no the in there. Email us fans@pickingupthepixels.com, and everything else is on the right-hand side of the page. Musim, where can we find you?
I guess my Twitter, John Musim, and at musim.bandcamp.com.
Mm-hmm. And the other Jay-Z in chat says, if you'd like to back Bard's Tale 4, go to twitter.com/JohnMusim. Mina, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube and Twitch at Minako Rocket, Minako Rocket, and also on, oh God, I'm blanking, Hitbox TV with Rosette, Risettee.
And if you don't know how to spell Rosette, go play Persona 4. You should have played this already. You can find this show and all my other shows, e1m1.com. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and our adventure continues next month. All right, and thank you, everyone, for watching. We gotta cut out. Musim has somewhere to go. Unfortunately, we won't be able to record a spoiler cast this time, as we are just out of time, and I know we will record something that will go on longer than half an hour.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, almost guaranteed. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next month. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I actually have to